Hurricane season starts June the 1st, and with that being days away, depending on when you're watching this video, we thought, what better way than to discuss what you need to put in your hurricane kit. I'm Mark Bergin. She's WRAL meteorologist Aimee Wilmoth. Aimee, I want to start here. What's the one thing you put in your kit each year that is just absolutely mandatory for you?
For me, it's flashlights, batteries, chargers. So my phone can be charged at all times. So I'm getting warnings and watches and things like that. That's probably number one for me. But it kind of depends on the storm. It's always good to prepare ahead of time because we know all too well here in North Carolina that it's not just the coast that gets impacted. Look at what happened in the mountains with Helene. We've had several weather makers move through central North Carolina and bring flooding and things like that and power outages. So there's a lot to do to prepare ahead of the season. And yeah, right before the season starts is probably a good time to start getting the kits together.
Yeah, it really depends storm by storm. I'm partial to my Gatorade. There's a few vitamin water flavors that I really like just to make sure that you're staying hydrated. You know, they always say 1 gallon per person per day that you might be without. And so, you know, you prepare for the worst, really, regardless of where you are in the state of North Carolina. I mean, I think like our hockey team, we're here in Raleigh, so we're still 2 hours from the coast. Our hockey team is called the Hurricanes. You bring up a great point with Helene in terms of the devastation that can come from hurricanes, even if you are inland.
That's right. And so you have to, you know, around here we worry about flooding, we worry about power outages. So think about things that you would need during a power outage. You're not going to be able to cook a normal meal. So non-perishable goods like cereal, canned goods. Something to remember, though, is if the power goes out and you have an electric can opener, that's not going to work. So you want to have one that's a manual one that doesn't require electricity. Baby food, pet food, make sure you have plenty of that. Sometimes the stores are going without power for days. And so you're not going to have the opportunity, perhaps, to just run to the grocery store and get what you need. So power is a big problem here in central North Carolina. I mentioned flashlights. You want to avoid candles. Just that's a fire hazard, and it's a nice scene setter sometimes, but flashlights are better. So make sure you have plenty of batteries for those as well. Phone chargers, phone banks, a battery-powered weather radio. That way you can get warnings. Of course, if you have our weather app, that's a free thing that you can have. Turn your location on, and that gives you warnings for your area. Car chargers, make sure you have those. So those are some of the things that you need if the power goes out. For me, it's the batteries and making sure I'm still able to communicate with the outside world.
I think about the phone chargers, especially just because you think, oh, we'll plug into the wall or plug into your computer device. Yeah. Have that backup battery to where you can charge it on the go in a portable manner because the phones can still serve as so many different things. They can serve as a way to get information about the hurricanes. The WRAL app and the WRAL weather app are free, by the way. Yeah. And with that, they can serve as a flashlight. They just serve so many functions. So that's the one that I always have where I actually have two myself, Aimee, where if I can't just plug it into the wall, you know, it's almost like it's almost like a stick of gum that size to be able to charge up my phone. Yeah,
and something else to think about, not everybody can afford them. But if you have the money to get a generator, make sure you keep it outside. Don't bring it inside. Generators are a huge tool at times of massive power outages, and it's not something that you want to wait when the storm is about to hit or it's already hit. They will be sold out. So if you have the means to do so, that's a nice tool to have on hand, ready to go in case the power goes out.
We talk a little bit about food, too, some of the non-perishable items. I think of like pretzels and crackers, granola bars, trail mix, bread, and just some things that, you know, peanut butter, some things that can last you a while just depending on how long the storms last. And then you get into some of the things beyond just, you know, you think of almost like the Maslow's hierarchy of need of like shelter, food, water, things for hygiene, things for, you know, to make sure that you're staying clean. An extra set of towels is always a good thing to have on.
First aid kit.
It's things like that you also need. And it's not just you and your family's needs too. You get into pets, you get into medications as well. I also think about it from the standpoint too, just to making sure that you're prepared here for hurricane season, that, have your documentation in order to be able to have access to that, either the files in a safe place, if it is a paper copy, having digital files of that handy, ready, and available to in the event that you'll need them.
In baggies or sealed containers. We experienced the flood events with tropical systems here in central North Carolina, and we're seeing more and more of that. These storms are producing more and more rain as the climate gets warmer and warmer, and there's more moisture in the atmosphere to work with. So we're having to deal with flooding a lot more frequently with these systems. So yeah, make sure your passports, your medical records, insurance policies, bank information, those are some of the good things to have somehow waterproof, whether it's digital or in a waterproof container of some kind.
Extra sets of keys as well. And have this ready in advance too, because we talk about hurricane season starting on June the 1st. Hurricanes can happen outside of that window range of June 1 all the way through the month of November. But just to be prepared, and this isn't to alarm anyone, but just to have a plan in place, and even if it's one day of supplies and having that ready in advance. I think you hit the nail on the head, Aimee, when you said each storm is a little bit different. There isn't one, hey, here's everything that you need for any storm available. I really think it depends from storm to storm what you'll need and how to best prepare for you and your family.
Another thing, medication. If you have prescription medication, have at least a week's worth. If you can, try to get some cash in advance. ATMs won't work if the power is out. Those are some things to consider as we approach the season as well. So
we're going to have a lot more information here on the WRAL YouTube page. If you haven't already, make sure you hit the like and subscribe button as well. Aimee, I also want to give you just a quick opportunity to how is this hurricane season compared to previous season, what we're expecting? I know this is something that you and our other team of WRAL meteorologists put together in advance of hurricane season of what we're expecting for 2026.
We've done a lot of research looking at current trends, past data, historical data, and with an El Nino developing right now and likely to be in full force throughout most of the season, that typically means a slower season for us. We've had El Nino seasons where we have a big system hit North Carolina. So we're not saying nothing's coming our way. We're just saying it's likely going to be a slower than usual season. We can keep our fingers crossed that will happen. We're very thankful we haven't had a preseason storm, and there's not anything out there that looks ominous at the moment. But it's likely to be a slower than normal season. Like I said, it just takes one to hit us, and it's a big deal for us.
And we'll have those daily updates on WRAL.com as well. So make sure you stay with us. Those daily updates starting on June 1.